Hey, what's up YouTube? This is FZM Studio. So before I get into the video, I just want to give a big thank you to each and every single one of you guys who have subscribed to the channel. I really appreciate that you're taking your time out to watching my tech videos. It truly means a lot. So in today's video, we're going to be doing a camera comparison test between the Mate 9 Pro and the P10 Plus. Now, we all know Huawei is starting to make a name for themselves for their rear-facing dual lens cameras. Both the P10 Plus and the Mate 9 Pro have the dual setup with 20 megapixels and 12 megapixels with optical image stabilization with Leica optics. Now the only difference in the rear-facing camera is the Mate 9 Pro has a f2.2 aperture, whereas the P10 Plus has a f1.8. And briefly summarized, the smaller your f number, the shallower depth of field. And that's exactly what Huawei have been renowned for, their amazing bokeh blurry style effect photos and videos. So to give you a quick overview of what you'll be seeing in this video is Ultra HD 4K video recording, 1080p recording, photos in different pixel resolutions, close-ups, low-light photos, and the front-facing camera. So you guys will be seeing a clear side-by-side comparison between the two phones, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Let's go. Running. So as you guys take a look at some of these amazing shots taken with the rear facing camera, I'll give you my feedback based on what I thought on the 4K video recordings. The main feature for me which I noticed on the video comparison was how well the P10 Plus handles HDR. The highlights and the attention to the blacks and the contrast far outweighs that of the Mate 9 Pro. The HDR difference can clearly be seen in all of these photos that you're looking at right now. In this first photo, look at how well the P10 Plus is handling HDR, the attention to the detail of the trees, the level of saturation between the skies and the grass is absolutely fantastic. Even on the corner of the image you can see how well the leaves are coming into focus and in detail, and how it is separated from the main background which is the sky. Despite that, I do believe the Mate 9 Pro has actually captured the clouds in a little bit more detail and a bit more truer colour than the P10 Plus. Once more, in this second photo, look at the difference of clarity between the trees, the HDR again, quality of the contrast, the highlights, everything is coming into full focus for the P10. I think the difference can also be spotted on the ground. Take for example on the Mate 9 Pro, you can't quite see the difference of grass, whereas on the P10 Plus they're showing a lot more detail, the difference of hue, and you can see a lot more compared to that of the Mate 9. Now in this picture, I believe both phones are doing really well. The colors of the pool on the Mate 9 Pro and the P10 Plus are very similar. I believe the foreground and the background have been captured in fantastic amount of detail. The vines can still be seen really well on HDR mode between both phones. Now a consistent theme that I've really noticed on the P10 is that it has much more of a popping color effect. The greens are very green, the colors are always well saturated, and that is noticeable in this photo. Now this is one of my favorite pictures that I took with the two phones. As you can see again on the P10 Plus, look at how well the HDR is being used. You can really see the difference between the clouds and the individual leaves and branches, and I really think this is an amazing shot. I even think the Mate 9 Pro is doing a fantastic job. It's just that because we're comparing side by side, I really prefer the P10. So you're probably thinking right now, wow, the HDR on the P10 Plus is far better than that of the Mate 9 Pro. However, I'll show you later down the line how this actually negatively affects the camera quality, so stay tuned. So once again, like the 4K video recording, I'll give you my impressions on what I thought was the differences for the full HD 1080p recordings. So in my opinion, the level of quality difference from 4K to 1080p is certainly noticeable, despite this video being exported out at 1080p. So there is an option for optical image stabilization when recording at 1080p compared to 4K. But personally, looking back at the footage that I've recorded, I believe the video recording is much more smoother when going for jogs or runs with 4K. Now I tend to notice that the autofocus was certainly a lot weaker for the P10 Plus when it comes to 1080p recording. You'll specifically notice it when I'm doing my jogs. The Mate 9 Pro doesn't actually have this autofocus issue, and therefore I believe it wins this test. I also prefer the Mate 9 Pro when it comes to broad daylight recording in urban areas. So as the footage was taken at broad daylight, I do find it strange how the P10 Plus does tend to darken the image slightly, as you definitely can tell with the low light condition photos. It's having that same impact but on a lesser level. That's why I'd say that for 1080p recording, and because of the autofocus is doing superbly on the Mate 9 Pro, I'll give the winner to that. So this is what I meant by saying that the HDR can actually have a negative impact on the P10 Plus. So these particular shots weren't actually shot with HDR, they were used in the standard mode. So the Mate 9 Pro here has much more of a natural tone as when the picture got taken. It looks a lot more truer to reality compared to the P10, as it looks a lot more darker and it looks like it was taken a little bit longer after the Mate 9 Pro, when in fact they were taken at the exact same time. Quality wise, again, the Mate 9 Pro is showing a lot more better quality in terms of detail, because the trees are not washed out in terms of the blacks on the P10. Level of detail in the foreground and the background just seems a lot more better. So I really believe the Mate 9 Pro does a lot better in low light conditions, especially outdoor. Once again, in the second example, I can show you the difference between the low light conditions. The P10 Plus is simply showing too much levels of black, therefore losing all the quality and the detail when it comes to the foreground and the background, whereas on the Mate 9 Pro it's truer to the reality, the tones are right, the levels of highlights and just the all-round quality is just much more dependable when it comes to low light conditions. So going back to having the advantage of HDR, if you look at these shots in broad daylight, I really prefer the P10 Plus once again. But sometimes high dynamic range isn't everything in a picture. I still think the Mate 9 Pro has great levels of blues and greens. All of the pictures that we've seen on the Mate 9 Pro are fantastic. There's not a huge level of difference. The only difference that I can always see between these photos is that HDR. And the final thing to mention, again looking at this amazing final shot, is that these pictures were taken at 20 megapixels, whereas the low light conditions were taken at 12. So this does make a difference, of course, when it comes to the quality, and once again, levels of detail are fantastic. We've got a lot of dynamic range in both photos, to be honest. So certainly leave your comments on which one you think did perform better in broad daylight and 1080p. Now, no real camera comparison test can be really completed without a selfie. Now, beauty mode wasn't selected, obviously, because I am beautiful. both selfies were taken in the standard auto mode. Now at the time of taking the shot, I didn't quite remember seeing the blurry bokeh effect on the P10 Plus, but I do think it's come out really well. I even think the Mate 9 Pro has done an absolutely outstanding job for the selfies, so I think they both win on this test. Now I'm really not too sure why my head is cropped out on the P10 Plus, because at the time of recording it wasn't, I'm sure. So on that basis I'm gonna have to give the win to the Mate 9 Pro, but hey, you guys can be the judge. The last thing I'll mention on the selfie camera is with the video recording on 1080p, you'll notice that the bokeh blurry effect is again occurring on the P10 Plus and not so much on the Mate 9 Pro. I don't think it makes much of a difference when it comes to the selfies. If you want that portrait mode effect on the P10 Plus, then on the selfie video you do get it. On the Mate 9 Pro you don't, but there is a feature for it to be enabled. So that brings me on nicely to the bokeh wide aperture pictures. So to finish up on the video, I just want to show you some amazing close-up pictures that I took indoors, just exposing again the quality and detail of both the cameras. So naturally in both photos, when I did the close-up shot in this particular photo and the next two that you'll see, it's blurred the background out, which really gives it that professional effect. I think both pictures are doing absolutely well. Again, the detail and highlights are a little bit more darker when it comes to the P10 Plus, as it has been a consistent theme throughout this video. So if you prefer a more of a natural, lighter tone, then the Mate 9 Pro is the better picture, but I'd love to hear your comments and feedback. Now I personally prefer the Mate 9 Pro in this particular shot just because it brings out the detail on the whites. Both phones, again, cameras are doing such a lovely job. I mean, look at the VARs when it comes to the P10 Plus, it's got such an amazing blurred effect. But all in all, they're both winners, I think. So this is the final photo when it comes to the camera comparison test. There's such an amazing high dynamic range on both the photos. Again, with the darkness and the contrast, you're gonna prefer the P10 Plus. If you want that smoother tone, more of a natural looking tone in my opinion, then the Mate 9 Pro is absolutely brilliant. I think indoors in natural lighting conditions they are both doing absolutely well. Couple that together with the wide aperture effect, you can get some absolutely fantastic professional looking photos in auto mode. So in conclusion guys, I would really love to hear your opinions and what you guys think about the quality of the Mate 9 Pro and the P10 Plus. Now for me personally, because there was no post-production editing or any image manipulation whatsoever, I am really impressed by what you can achieve simply by using the phone in auto mode. There's no need to go into the Pro tools and start changing all the settings such as the ISO settings or the exposure settings. Simply leave everything at default and you will find that you will get amazing quality videos and pictures. So if you want my feedback on who actually won the test, that's a tough one. I think they both outweigh each other just about right. But in my honest opinion, because of those photos that you saw at the beginning with that high dynamic range, the P10 Plus, in my opinion, may just edge the test. But hey, you guys can leave your comments on what you guys think was the best camera. So I'm really happy that I made this video for you guys. I really enjoyed going out and recording all this footage, and I'm certainly looking forward to creating much more camera comparison tests between higher flagship phones like the Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus and all of the new devices that are coming out this year. Definitely stay tuned for that. So yeah guys, definitely suggest what type of content you want to see by leaving a comment. Hit that thumbs up button and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.